What? What is this about?
They're still watching.
At 2:17 a.m., the police knocked on my door. And by morning, I was accused of a murder I didn't commit. But the real horror? The killer had been watching me the whole time. I opened my door at 2 a.m., and by sunrise, the police told me a dead body was buried in my backyard. But the terrifying part wasn't the body. It was that someone had been planning to frame me all along. I remember the exact moment my life split into two versions of reality. The one where I was invisible and the one where everyone suddenly knew my name. It was 2:17 a.m. when the knock came. Not loud, not aggressive, just deliberate, like whoever stood on the other side already knew I was awake. I lived alone in a small town where nothing ever happened. Maplewood wasn't the kind of place that made headlines. People here cared more about lawn symmetry than human secrets, which is exactly why I never expected mine to surface. I opened the door halfway. 2 officers. One of them avoided eye contact, the other didn't. "Lena Carter?" he asked. I nodded. "We need you to come with us." No explanation, no hesitation, just those words and the quiet certainty that my life had already changed. By sunrise, I was sitting in an interrogation room that smelled like old coffee and regret. Across from me sat Detective Harris, a man with the kind of calm that felt rehearsed. "Do you know a woman named Clara Whitmore?" he asked. The name hit me like a whisper from a forgotten dream. "Yes," I said slowly. "She used to live next door, moved away last year." "Moved?" he repeated. I swallowed. "That's what she told me." He slid a photograph across the table. Clara, but not the Clara I remembered. Her eyes were frozen open, her face pale, lips slightly parted like she was about to say something she never got the chance to. "She didn't move, Miss Carter," he said quietly. "She was buried in your backyard." There's a specific kind of silence that follows a sentence like that. It doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel possible, and yet it settles into your bones like truth. "I didn't do this," I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. Detective Harris leaned back. "Then help me understand why your fingerprints are all over the shovel we found." The next few hours blurred into questions, accusations, and the slow, suffocating realization that I was no longer just Lena Carter. I was a suspect. Clara Whitmore had been strange, not in an obvious way. She smiled too much, asked questions that felt just slightly too personal, watched people longer than necessary. But she was kind, or at least she seemed kind. We used to sit on my porch sometimes, sipping iced tea while the sun dipped behind the trees. She once told me something that felt insignificant at the time. "People disappear all the time," she said. "The trick is making sure no one looks in the right place." I laughed back then. God, I wish I hadn't. They released me that evening, but not because they believed me, because they wanted to watch me. Small towns don't need ankle monitors, they have neighbors. Every curtain became an eye, every whisper a verdict. I stopped sleeping. Instead, I started remembering. Clara had left me something. I didn't realize it at first. It was just a box she handed me the night before she supposedly moved. "Don't open it right away," she said. "Wait until you feel like something's wrong." I laughed. Again, I wish I hadn't. I found the box buried in my closet beneath winter coats and forgotten shoes. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, a tape recorder and a single note. "If you're hearing this, they chose you." The tape clicked. Static. Then Clara's voice. Soft, calm, almost amused. Hi, Lena. I froze. I need you to listen carefully because by now you're probably exactly where I was. A pause. You think this is about you. It's not. My chest tightened. There's someone in this town who doesn't exist on paper. No records, no past, but they've been here longer than anyone realizes. The tape crackled. They watch, they choose, and when they're done, they plant. Plant. My backyard. My breath caught. I didn't disappear, Lena, Clara whispered. I was erased. The recording ended abruptly. I sat there for what felt like hours, the silence pressing in from every direction. This wasn't a confession, it was a warning. The next morning, I did something reckless. I went back to Clara's house. It had been empty for months, the windows dusty, the porch sagging slightly as if the house itself was tired of waiting. The door wasn't locked. Of course it wasn't. Inside, everything felt paused, like someone had pressed stop on a life mid-sentence. I moved slowly, my heart pounding louder with every step. Then I saw it. The wall, covered with photographs. Not random ones. People from the town, neighbors, shop owners, teachers. And in the center, me. Dozens of pictures, some from across the street, some through my own windows. My stomach dropped. This wasn't Clara's doing. She was being watched too. Curiosity can be dangerous. The voice came from behind me. I turned, and my world shattered again. It was Mrs. Dalton, the quiet librarian, the woman who baked pies for charity events and remembered everyone's birthdays. She smiled gently, like this was just another normal conversation. I was wondering when you'd come here, she said. My voice barely worked. You did this? She tilted her head. Not at first. I just continued it. I tried to run. I didn't make it 2 steps. Something heavy struck the back of my head and the world folded into darkness. When I woke, I was in a room I didn't recognize, tied to a chair. Mrs. Dalton sat across from me, calm as ever. You remind me of Clara, she said. She figured things out too. My throat burned. Why are you doing this? She sighed. Because someone has to keep the balance, she said. This town survives on its image, peaceful, safe, perfect. She leaned forward. But perfection requires maintenance. I felt sick. You kill people. She shook her head. I remove disruptions, she corrected. People who ask too many questions, people who don't fit. Her eyes locked onto mine. And people like you. My heart raced, but my mind, it started working. Clara's voice echoed in my head. They plant. You buried her in my yard, I said. Mrs. Dalton smiled. Of course, the best hiding place is where suspicion feels too obvious to be real. I swallowed hard. And now, me? She stood. Now, she said softly, you become the story they believe. She moved behind me. I heard the scrape of metal, the cold edge of something sharp brushing against my neck. And then, a sound. Distant at first. Sirens. Mrs. Dalton froze, just for a second, but that second was enough. The door burst open, police flooded in, voices shouted, hands grabbed her, and just like that, the illusion shattered. Later, Detective Harris sat across from me again, but this time his eyes were different. You recorded her, he said. I nodded weakly. The tape recorder lay on the table between us. I had turned it on the moment I saw the wall. Instinct. Or maybe Clara had taught me something after all. Mrs. Dalton confessed, not everything. People like her never do. But enough. Enough to clear my name. Enough to prove Clara hadn't been lying. Maplewood returned to normal, at least on the surface. Lawns trimmed, smiles restored. But I see it now. The cracks, the quiet spaces where truth hides. Sometimes late at night I replay Clara's tape, not because I need answers, but because I need to remember. This wasn't random. It wasn't chaos. It was a system. And systems, they don't end with one person. Last night, I found something on my porch. A small box. No name, no note. Inside, a photograph of me sleeping.